Welcome to How Hip Hop Changed the World. Over the next 2 hours, I'm going to show you how hip hop has transformed our planet. Not in the way that TV shows always claim that something changed the world and it really hasn't, no. Hip hop is the revolution that succeeded, altering the way we speak, dress, think, the way music is made, the way the business is done, the way the art is perceived. It's not just about spitting rhymes on a corner anymore. It's the way it is in 2011. In case you're wondering, that's a great thing. And in case you don't believe me, I'm about to prove it to you.
Check, check, 1, 2.
Hello.
Testing, 1, 2. 1, 2.
Mic check.
1, 2.
3, 4.
Check-a-dong, work. Ready?
My name's Idris Elba, actor, DJ, MC, and lifelong hip-hop fan. Over the next 2 hours, I'm going to be counting down 50 defining moments that show how hip-hop changed the world that we live in. We've consulted the hip-hop community on both sides of the Atlantic, and this is what they came up with. Yes, we've spoken to some true rap royalty.
The greatest moment in the history of hip-hop. Greatest what?
That's a good question, man.
Don't ask me.
Someone that can you.
Surprisingly, the seeds of the global hip-hop revolution were sown in New York City in 1953, with a bulldozer plowing its way through the middle of the Bronx to make way for a flyover called the Cross Bronx Expressway. The community was cut off, middle classes fled, and by the 70s, the Bronx had become a no-go zone. I'm going to show you how an entirely original youth culture, DJing, MCing, graffiti, and breakdancing exploded out of these wastelands. How it infiltrated the mainstream, almost destroying itself along the way, before finally taking over as one of the dominant political and social forces of our time. British artists are now taking center stage, selling their own authentic twist on a culture spawned by the States back to the States. This, ladies and gentlemen, is how hip-hop changed the world. If you wanted proof of hip-hop's incredible reach, you need to look no further than our first entry at number 50, the 2012 Olympic logo. Now, if you're thinking, what? Hear me out. Its roots go deep.
The logo of the Olympics is made in graffiti. What have we done? Listen to me. I don't think you understand.
I just thought, is that it? That's all I thought.
The Olympic logo is definitely an attempt to kind of bring the youth in.
You just know they were so pleased with themselves because they think, if it was any other major city in the world, they'd just be doing it in a really tasteful, conventional way. But not us cool Londoners. Watch out, we're gonna hit you up with some hip-hop shit.
So why does the London 2012 logo look like a slightly dodgy tag? How did it come to this? Graffiti was an art form developed by the forgotten kids of 1970s New York as a way to make a mark on their city.
More or less, we had to, make our presence known. You go into another area that you wasn't even supposed to be in, or whatever the deal is, you left your tag to let them know you was there.
They were literally just hanging around empty train stations, that kind of thing. And then it just progressed from there. They actually started to put their names on the trains.
You would just be out in the street and you could see your tag like it's flying through the South Bronx.
When you got nothing, all you have is your name. That train's gonna travel to Manhattan. It's gonna travel to where people that could never come into your neighborhood, and they're gonna see it.
The advertising world was quick to hijack the spray can. It turned out that graffiti could even be used to sell breakfast cereal.
Back in 1985, I was approached by an ad agency who were doing the ads for Weetabix, the breakfast cereal, to do some work for them. Okay, so you want me to do a piece that's gonna go up on billboards all around the country. Will I be able to put my name on it? And it says, yeah, sure. And it was like, ping, instant fame. My name all around the country, yeah, I'll do it.
Graffiti influence has spread all over the world, from the architecture of Zaha Hadid, the use of fonts and logos from every company, from Mars chocolate to Starbucks, to the logo for the Olympics. It's almost hard to find an area of design which isn't influenced by graffiti writing.
The embarrassing appropriation of hip-hop culture isn't limited to designers and marketeers. In 2006, two of the world's most powerful men were allegedly heard communicating in hip-hop slang at the G8. A media frenzy ensued.
George Bush greeted the Prime Minister with the phrase, "Yo, Blair."
Yeah, Blair.
I think that's to be avoided on the whole.
Yeah, Blair.
It seemed unusual and inappropriate for these world statesmen to be using the language that might have been perceived as the language of the street.
Yeah, Blair.
Yeah, I'm the round here.
The media and political elite's attitude towards hip-hop culture has historically been patronizing at best. But even your local MP can be down these days.
When I'm listening to Tinchy or other artists in my car as I drive around North Norfolk, I do wind the windows up as I come into the local town, just in case people aren't ready for it.
In 2007, rap royalty even met British royalty when Kanye West and P. Diddy attended the Princess Diana Memorial Concert.
I think Prince Harry is really a hip-hop fan.
Me and Prince William, we're the same age, born on the same day. And you just realise he's grown up seeing the same things as me. He knows about hip-hop, they know about weed and stuff like that. And they're not, you know what I mean, they're not bloody robots.
Posh clothes, girls on either arm, loads of guns. What's the difference between the royals and hip-hop?
I love the Queen. Been down with her from day one.
So Ye and Diddy aren't the only MCs to be down with the Windsors. Snoop Dogg even took it upon himself to record a track for Will's Stag Do.
Trying to get him some whoop-wop before he got married, you know. They say the day before you get married, you're supposed to have as much fun with as many women as you want to.
Like Wills and Harry, we've all grown up with hip-hop. It's been telling us what to do for about 3 decades.
Now don't step out when you're close to the edge, or you may find that you'll lose your head.
In 1983, hip-hop famously taught us how to cross the road in the Green Cross Kodak.
You know you gotta take care, you gotta...
As we got older, hip-hop told us what beer to drink.
I bet he drinks Carlin Black Label.
What stereo to buy.
The new Philips compact disc player.
The sun is up.
And last year, it told us what organic yogurt we should be eating.
It's gonna be a good one. Yo.
So what we're gonna do? We're gonna make a commercial. And I'll tell you, we want like a pumping beat. Get me one of those street beats that's really like thumping. And then get like, you know, the beat going like this. Yeah. And the girls will, yeah, like grind, you know, doing the grinding thing. Yeah, that'll be great.
Big up your chest. Represent the West. The West.
Can I get my bonus now?
Yeah, we bring the stars out.
Mock West Country hip-hop acts aside, the British scene is now thriving. In grime, the UK has found its own voice. We're doing it our way now.
I think it's only recent that UK have got their own sound and their own culture.
We imitated culture for a very long time, but now we have our own.
One thing I love about hip-hop scene here in London now, nobody's trying to be somebody else. Everybody's being themselves.
It's that the raw edge to it. When you get in there, the tempo was different. What we're speaking is different. We use our own slang.
Yeah, we bring the stars out. We bring the women and the cars and the cars out.
I think we're in the process of kind of finding something big.
Everybody take a look at me. I've got street credibility. I may not have
But it hasn't always been this way. In 1982, an unlikely duo from the mean streets of Hertfordshire released the UK's first smash hit rap record.
Yeah. I say a B1, B2. Make a claim, sign your names, all you have to do.
Oh yeah, the Wham rap.
Well, folks will be a drag if work ain't your bag, and when you let them know.
The Wham rap was cool. It did what it had to do, but it didn't infiltrate the hip-hop scene.
In the, those really early years, hip-hop, it was all seen as a fad and a trend, and a lot of people were just jumping on it.
We was like, wow, that ain't hip-hop, I've never seen them at a hip-hop jam.
So while Wham were having a laugh, a genuine UK hip-hop scene was beginning to flourish. London's Covent Garden would be its mecca.
In Covent Garden, people were doing things like mime dancing. And all of a sudden, these kids just arrive, and they just come with their lino into the middle of London, put a rock box down, and just start jamming out.
I come from school, take off my blazer, get on a 77A, go straight to the West End, be in Covent Garden until the wee hours.
It wasn't long before this early UK hip-hop scene started to produce its own stars. Acts with endearingly British names such as Derek B and Cookie Crew were spitting rhymes about life in the UK. But they sounded like they were from the US.
We got a message to all who said we couldn't do it. Take a look at us now. Take your words and chew it. Black is the word. That's right. Because we can do it. Kick it.
Oh, of course we were guilty of rapping in American accents. Who wasn't? But back in them days, it didn't matter. Everything that we heard that was rap-related or hip-hop, it was from America. It was an American influence. It took a few years before there were UK crews that had, that UK identity.
This is London.
The London Posse came about. They saw the power of the English accent in the States.
London Posse, we don't joke, we don't smoke, speed or cold.
Staying in Brooklyn at my auntie's house, and we'd be there rapping with the youth them on the block and thing, and doing our little fake American thing. Nah, that shit weren't washing. It wasn't washing. When I said, all right, darling, oi, bruv, can you get me a drink? Whatever it was, that was the attraction for them.
They could see that, hip-hop is about your life experience, how you live your life. Let's tell it from a UK perspective.
I'm gonna fool around, gonna have some fun.
From the Wham rap to the London Posse, the UK hip-hop scene had come a long way. But it wasn't until a young MC by the name of Monie Love stormed the US charts in 1990 that America knew we had a scene at all.
American recognition was what you desired more than anything else. And for Simone to go and have a massive hit record as a female rap artist,
get back on your feet, please. I'm begging you to check out on your own knees.
That was a lot. It meant that we really got something to shoot for. It made it real.
After the break, we go where hip-hop had never gone before. Into art galleries, onto porn shoots, as rap spread into every unexpected corner of life, challenging everything we knew, and even sticking a middle finger up to the President of the United States of America. At its very heart, hip-hop is about making something amazing from absolutely nothing, turning something old into something new. And nothing embodies this philosophy more than the sampler, pioneered in the mid-'80s by legendary producer and friend of mine, Marley Marl.
Marley Marl was the newest hip-hop producer in the game who everybody knew was gonna change the whole world.
Marley Marl was the master of the EMU SP1200. A machine that enabled you to cut up sounds in any song and reassemble them.
He's like, hold on. So if I can just, sample a snare, maybe I can sample a kick, a hi-hat from all different records and just make up my own pattern altogether.
It gave it this nasty crunch that just became synonymous with the sound of early hip-hop.
gonna sit here laid back to this nice mellow beat, you know?
Hip-hop music is just a passing fad, which encourages thievery in the form of sampling.
Talking all that jazz.
Sample culture went on to change the landscape of modern music. It even transformed the grandfather of soul into the godfather of soul.
Tell the truth, James Brown was old. Tell Eric and Rock came out with I Got Soul. Rap brings back old R&B, and if we would not, people could have forgotten.
James Brown was in the shit pile. His career was over. He was corny right then. He got sampled by Eric B. and Rakim. That record blew up. People was interested in James Brown again.
Taking something from the society that was at hand, taking it and reinventing it. And that's what hip-hop did.
The rise of sampling meant tracks could be constructed out of pretty much anything, even the voices of Vietnamese sex workers. When 2 Live Crew released Me So Horny in 1989, they became the first act to have a record deemed legally obscene.
But a record is on trial, and that makes it unusual. Unusual.
Girls always ask me why a buck so much. I say what's wrong, baby doll, with being a nut.
When I was in Miami at the time when it was really exploding, I would go to parties, you know, go to a strip club and you go to some guy's house and he'd have like 5 snakes in a pit with a glass table with loads of drinks and brandy and Remy and loads of girls butt naked running around this big house. I'm like, man, I come from Wolverhampton.
After 2 Live Crew, gyrating bikini-clad women became a must-have accessory for any self-respecting MC. Unsurprisingly, not everyone feels this was a good thing.
When we'd watch rap videos, it was all about dance crews and the B-boys. But then it got to a stage where videos started to incorporate girls in bikinis on the beach, on the yacht.
We doing big pimpin', we spending cheap. Check 'em out now.
It's all about which woman's got the biggest breasts or the biggest booty. Although we disagree with it, women keep going to the castings and keep wanting to do that and keep buying the clothes that they're wearing. Sex sells.
It wasn't just porn that got pimped out by hip-hop. The rarefied world of the art gallery also got a hip-hop makeover when enterprising street artists realized there was money to be made.
Graffiti is entering the mainstream art scene. A number of New York galleries have graffiti exhibits, with canvases selling for $2,000 to $10,000 each.
To the Manhattan art establishment of the early 80s, hip-hop looked like some kind of primitive expression of genius. And when Andy Warhol took a young street artist by the name of Basquiat under his wing, the art world bought into it big time.
For me, this was the weirdest thing. It was like I'm in an art gallery and they're celebrating street culture, which was just baffling, to be quite honest.
Graffiti had left its indelible mark on the art world, and these days, arguably the most famous artist in the world is a street artist called Banksy.
It probably does get people into art. You know, people who probably think that they don't really like art probably do like Banksy.
What Banksy did was people took it seriously because he was saying something. There's a girl hugging a bomb. I mean, what does that not tell you about everything about the modern world? I'm laughing, I've bloody got that. Well, I had it on my wall. I took it down when I realised Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie were really into it.
A new day, another morning after, leaning back on my chair in a greasy spoon cafeteria.
In many ways, hip-hop is about the rise of the outsider. In 2002, you couldn't have been much more of an outsider to hip-hop than a white Brummie bloke called Mike, who had a rhyme flow like, no one else.
With plenty of scrambled eggs and plenty of fried tomato.
As a city, Birmingham, we don't really have loads to cheer for, but when I actually listened to the album, I was blown away. Not only a white guy in a black-dominated urban music scene, but also spitting in a completely different flow, which never made sense to a lot of people.
I was like, what's this guy doing? Like, he can't rap.
But just don't mug yourself, that's all, don't mug yourself.
He's the only man that can rap so out of time and so out of beat and still make people like it. You get what I'm trying to say to you? So big up Mike Skinner.
Hold it down, boy, your head's getting blurred.
At number 41, The Streets' debut album, Original Pirate Material, is one of the most influential British LPs of the decade and became the new voice of British suburbia, neither white nor black, but street.
That was an album where he brought something new to the table.
How amazing that must have been if you were an adolescent at that age, and he is rapping about not something that's a bit like your life, but is so mundane that it's exactly like your life.
If Mike Skinner was your average bloke from next door, then the Beastie Boys were the original neighbours from hell.
For me and kids my age, the Beastie Boys was sort of everything.
You gotta fight for your right to party.
The Beastie Boys were hip-hop's early pranksters, but Middle England wasn't in on the joke, and their knowingly awful fashion sense had car owners across the shires seething with anger.
Increasing numbers of VW drivers are returning to find their badges have vanished.
The thing that made me really angry is when I went to Ascot and I felt fairly naked without my badge. I think it's premeditated theft.
Up until then, it was about, you know, rocking thick rope gold chains. I mean, if you can't afford a rope chain, put a bit of car furniture around your neck.
They were poking fun at rap music as much as being fans of it.
I knew guys at that era who'd go down to the lorry parks and rip off massive, you know, lorry logos of Volkswagens, wear them around their neck. It was just dumb.
I think it's a shame that you have to write articles and make up lies to sell your papers.
The Beastie Boys, a band of few words, most of them unprintable.
Well, some of the crowd are on the pitch.
The Beastie Boys' rhymes may have seemed cack-handed, but nothing could prepare the world for this man's highly questionable rapping skills.
You got to hold and give, but do it at the right time.
And if you can.
John Barnes' rap on the World Cup anthem, World in Motion, seemed like a good-natured joke, but it masked a serious turning point for Britain. The moment at which a man who'd suffered years of racism on the pitch, including having bananas thrown at him, became the celebrated voice of multicultural Britain, and all through the prism of rap.
You can be slow or fast, but you must get to the line.
For the time it came in, and the moment, I think it was brilliant. Just for, like, black role models, I suppose, and black figures on TV, can only be a positive thing.
Who is Soulja Boy, and what in the heck is that dance?
Who's Soulja Boy?
Soulja Boy, I'm in it. Why me crack it? Why me roll? Why me crack that Soulja Boy? That Superman?
How Soulja Boy made it over John Barnes, I'll never know. But here he is, the 17-year-old boy who recorded a track in his bedroom, put it on the internet, and it turned into one of the biggest-selling records of the decade. The dance routine was wicked too.
Crack that soul, now what? Crack that soul, now what? Crack that soul, now what? Boom, 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 gotta get that boom, boom.
From internet novelty hit to TV sensation. In 2009, a street dance crew called Diversity won Britain's Got Talent and danced all the way to Downing Street.
Boom, gotta get that boom, 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 gotta get that boom, 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 gotta get.
But Diversity are by no means the first crew to throw themselves about in front of a head of state. In 1983, one of the original B-boy crews, the New York City Breakers, were invited to perform for President Reagan. Despite these ghetto kids being left for dead by their government, they had created a culture of their own and were dancing defiantly out of TV sets the world over.
At them times from the Bronx to be dancing in front of the president, like these kids from the Bronx, like, what are you doing? Get out of here.
Moves that were developed in the rubble of the Bronx in the late 70s have changed the shape of 21st century dance.
Right now, Steady's gonna show you some tops. So these are the tops, top rocking.
It's the perfect timing. You see the man shining.
Then he's gonna do his steady get down. Then he goes into some footwork. Always throwing variations on the floor. Finishes it nicely with a baby freeze and a full stop.
You rock, make 'em envy. You
There's b-boys in every single country, every country that, like, it might be hard to believe. You go to Tibet, there's people with b-boy. In Africa, there's people with b-boy. Everywhere, there's b-boys.
Right, after the break, we'll return with more hip-hop moments that changed the world. From cheer-humping MCs to blunt-smoking gangsters. Two of the first ladies of hip-hop, as well as, quite possibly, the best rapper of all time. All right, welcome back to our countdown of hip-hop's most defining moments, and we are firmly in top 40 territory now. This is where hip-hop starts to experiment with everything from dressing like the Great Gatsby to taking vast amounts of drugs. Plus, it's got this geezer in it.
I love you. For the first time in my life, I see I need love. There I was.
When a teenage MC with the catchy moniker LL Cool J, a.k.a. Ladies Love Cool James, released a track called I Need Love in 1987, hardcore hip-hop fans were horrified. It sounded like a rap ballad.
The raw deal playing make-believe, pretending that I'm true. Holding in my laugh as I say that I love you. Saying I'm more.
LL Cool J was famously booed very heavily when he played that in Hammersmith and he started humping the couch.
You can't say Ladies Love Cool J and not make a love song.
Very clearly, LL Cool J was ahead of his time.
With I Need Love, LL Cool J had taken rap from the streets to the bedroom. Hip-hop had produced its first ever teen pin-up.
He's one of the greatest rappers of all time.
To build a successful genre, you have to have more than beats and braggadocio. Long-term, LL Cool J won that argument.
At the dawn of the 21st century, most people thought they knew what hip-hop looked like and sounded like. But then, a duo from Atlanta, Georgia, hit the big time.
It was like, oh my God, these two are bonkers.
They couldn't stand next to the cream of rappers and rap.
Well, she got a hottest body, but her attitude is potty. When I met her at a party, she was hardly acting naughty. I said,
Niggas also put on green trousers and make hair up.
When Outkast dropped the album Speaker Box, The Love Below, it redefined the scope of hip-hop. They snuffed out the Bling Brigade and dressed like the Great Gatsby, blazing a trail of originality. Missy Elliott was another artist who dared to be different. So much so, she wasn't afraid to wear giant bin bags in her videos.
Around that time, Lil' Kim was at the top of her game, and she was sexy, and she was, you know what I mean, everything that a man wanted. And Missy came, and she was fun, and she wanted to make crazy music. She wasn't really the sexiest thing alive, but you loved her. You know what I mean? It was true hip-hop within her.
When Get Your Freak On was released in 2001, it proved a high water mark for minimal, experimental. No, actually, scratch that. It was just freaking amazing.
Missy Elliott definitely changed the game, man. The whole sound, the whole image, she had an attitude like, I don't care, I'm doing what I'm doing.
Missy's influence continues to be felt to this day.
For me, that's inspired me to be like, you know what, this is who I am, I'm not perfect, I'll make mistakes, you know, but music is music and this is who I am.
Missy Elliott, I don't think there's a woman to do it like her since her.
1, 2, 3 into the 4. Snoop Doggy Dogg and Dr. Dre is at the dope.
In the early 90s, a new style of hip-hop emerged from Los Angeles. At 32, it's the G-Funk era. Dr. Dre and Snoop Doggy Dogg would be its leading lights.
Hip-hop goes through different eras, and when that G-Funk era came of Dre and of Snoop Dogg, it was definitely about smoking weed, drinking alcohol, getting with girls. It was about partying, having a good time. It was a real soundtrack to the summer.
It's like this and like that and like this, man.
It was like a revolt. It was like a movement. It was like the hippie movement in the 70s.
Yeah, the hippie movement, but with a few more guns.
People felt good about the music and the people who were making the music and the harmony with the marijuana and everything being all tied in.
It's like that and like this and like that, and
It just reminds me of sunny days. Yeah.
So just chill.
It's that bounce to it.
That kind of shit.
They were good times.
I think they in the mood for another one of those G hits. So Dre, what up, dog?
When I started to listen to Snoop when I was younger, that's when I really started to buy a lot of hip-hop music for myself.
Now just throw your hands in the motherfucking air.
The G-Funk era was the moment that hip-hop became a lifestyle brand that everyone from Hong Kong to Harwich wanted to be a part of.
It didn't matter what color you were, how old you were, what state you came from, what country you lived in. It felt so good and so comforting to your ears because it was actually what you were going through. You might have not didn't go through getting shot at or the gangbanging, but just the expression of being young and challenging and dealing with life and having to make the choice of, am I gonna do right or am I gonna do wrong?
Ready or not, here I come, you can't hide. Gonna find you and take it slowly.
In 1996, a group called the Fugees released an album called The Score, and the sound of a million jaws dropping could be heard from space.
Yeah. Now that I escape, sleep, walk away.
The Score. It's one of the best hip-hop albums ever. The combination of Clef and his understanding of music and just Lauren. By far, she's the best female MC and one of our best female vocalists ever.
And just when people thought The Score couldn't be topped, female Fugees member Lauryn Hill released her solo album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
It was like, wow.
That album, oh my God, that album. Oh, mind-blowing.
It's been 3 weeks since you were looking for your friend, the one you let hit it and never called you again. Remember when he told you he was about to Benjamins? You act like you ain't him, they give him a little trim.
It's an important and big record. I remember the first time I heard The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. I really couldn't move for a while.
X Factor is one of my favorite songs ever. That album is probably the album that made me want to write songs. Just sometimes I'm like, I'm saying no, yeah, and everybody wanna, and it just happens. It feels so natural, and that's what I was drawn to.
That was her life on a record. She needed to make another one.
Can't touch this. Speaking of hip-hop megastars, can't touch this. Can't touch this. Did you really think that these two wouldn't be in the top 50? Mega big, mega baggy, mega silly. It's hip-hop's original megastars.
I like MC Hammer.
Music hits me so hard, makes me say, oh my Lord.
I didn't really like Vanilla Ice.
Vanilla Ice. I still know all the words to that song.
Yo, to the extreme, I rock a mic like a vandal. Light up a stage and wax a chump like a candle. Dance!
I probably listened to Vanilla Ice more than I did MC Hammer. Sorry, but yeah, I did listen to that. I'd be like, because if you look at it now and what he's wearing and when you was into it, like I feel a bit embarrassed because I used to jump in front of the mirror and
everyone done it, bro.
And bands, you got it like that, now you know you wanna dance, so move.
Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer are significant for more than their dance routines. They were two of the biggest selling artists in 1990. Hip-hop had gone stratospheric.
You don't have to like it for it to move the ground, for the ground to shift. I think Vanilla Ice, he's the first multi-platinum selling white rapper.
Word to your mother.
It set a precedent. And then MC Hammer,
break it down.
Commercial levels of success, ridiculous.
MC Hammer allegedly celebrated his megastardom by splashing out on a solid gold toilet. Extravagant displays of wealth or bling have always been a part of hip-hop culture. In 2003, the bling bling ethos even made it into the Oxford English Dictionary. It was official. You could now use hip-hop slang in a game of Scrabble. Today, hip-hop is everywhere. From presidential briefings to car insurance. But in the late 70s, hip-hop was still obscure, considered a novelty, black folk music that might never escape New York. But a man called Fab Five Freddy and a new wave band from downtown called Blondie were about to change all of that.
And I go by the name of Fab Five Freddy. We're gonna do it like this, y'all. So lay your cards on the table and place your bet. I bet your odds this is something you ain't heard yet.
The 77 Freddy took us up to the Bronx to this event, and it was the first time we were exposed to the full-on, phenomena and all its glory, and it was so exciting. It was just fantastic.
Now, everybody in the place, you gotta get up and when I go the mic, you wanna move your butt.
It was sort of a new voice for the kids and a different way of expressing themselves and talking about their frustrations or their joys or social problems, and it was became almost like a protest or folk music.
Then it seemed like such a no-brainer to put a rap in a pop song.
Now, rapping is American. Rapping is also black, although you'd be forgiven for thinking it was blonde. Blonde, if this was the first time you'd heard it.
Fab Five Freddy told me everybody slide. DJ spinning, I said, my, flash is fast, flash is cool, Francois.
That pop song was called Rapture, and for many people, this was the first time they'd ever heard rapping.
The guys from Wu-Tang told us it was the first rap song they ever heard, which is kind of mind-boggling.
Comes right down and lands on the ground, and out comes the man from Mars.
I was like, whoa, this blew my mind. Like, this is Blondie, and she's in the chart. So this means it's cool.
Well, now you see what you want to be. Just have your party on TV, because the man from Mars...
Rapture went straight to #1 in the States and was a worldwide phenomenon. Rap had been released into the wild.
Rapture was one of the biggest tunes. Manhattan went nuts.
Rap music was in the Bronx. Rap music was in Harlem. Rap music was in Brooklyn. It started to come downtown with the Roxy and stuff like that. Downtown is what spread that message of hip-hop through the whole world. It would have remained segmented if not for it being embraced by the cognoscenti of downtown, by the Debbie Harrys, the Fab Five Freddys.
Now it was going from plugging into lampos on the street level to cats making records that were topping the charts.
Back then, I spoke to a lot of higher-ups in the record companies, and 100% of these guys told me that hip-hop was going to go away, that it was a fad.
Several of them said that if it stayed around, they would hang themselves.
Cinemas in the United States are increasing their security after one death and a number of injuries in gang violence. The trouble's been caused by a film called Boys in Hood.
Try Boys in the Hood, Nicholas. In 1991, a film about gang life in LA starring Cuba Gooding Jr. and rapper Ice Cube set the cash registers ringing at the box office.
Just waking up in the morning, gotta thank God. I don't know, but today seems kinda odd.
Boys in the Hood, groundbreaking.
God, that was just the film to be watched at that time. It was the first black hip-hop film to come out.
Ironically, the film's message is one of peace.
The film shone a light on gang violence in LA, but it also managed to strike a chord with the urban youth outside of the USA.
We could all relate, you know what I mean? It was just, it was our life, but in a different place.
It was about the struggle of being still relatively new to a country or seen as the outsiders in a country, and thus being in a community where you've all been shoved, like in the 60s when everyone was shoved in Brixton or Ladbroke Grove.
John Singleton's film Boys in the Hood was Oscar nominated. It took hip-hop to Hollywood, and its impact on the film industry is still felt today.
You had a film that was a predominantly black cast that became like a mainstream phenomenon. The knock-on effect from that suddenly made the industry over there go, wow, these people go to the cinema? Wow, okay. And then more films like that started happening, which then turned into films that didn't involve violence and were comedies and were dramas and were whatever, and thus created or helped really push black cinema in America.
We return after the break and it's getting intense. George Bush gets an arse whipping. Hip-hop fashion goes from jailhouse to catwalk. Now we meet the man who started it all. We go back, way, way back. Back where it all began.